Hello, aspirants. Welcome to the weekly current affairs by Alchemy IAS Institute. We are going to discuss the 1 week current affairs from September 1st to 5th, which will be relevant for our UPSC civil service preparation. One of the main main news was the SEO summit of 2025. It's a way of, or it's like it's uh, a symbol of a new world order is being emerged as a multipolar world, or as like the decreasing dominance of United States. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, 25th summit, was held on September 1st, 2025. It was the largest SEO summit to date. Largest in the sense, according to the number of members participated, it was the largest summit till date, covering the leaders from over 20 countries and 8 international organizations, including the head from India, China, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, as well as the representative from the UN and the regional corporations. If you look at the Chinese agenda in SEO summit, what China proposed, what are the Chinese agenda? The host, President Xi Jinping, positioned the SEO to the central to promoting a multipolar world order. You know that after the end of the Cold War, the world is like the bipolar world order ended, and the globe entered into a multipolar world order. Even though there is a multipolar world order is existing, but still some dominance is there in the United States side. Now, the actual multipolar world order is emerging now and offered a strategic counter narrative to the Western dominance. So, Western dominance means not only USA, it includes the European nations also, because the SEO summit was the main attraction of SEO summit was the cooperation, or like the alliance that between India, Russia, and China. The China unveiled the plan for SEO development bank as our Asia Development Bank, like there was like the in line of the World Bank. China proposed a regional development bank, SEO development bank, targeting the infrastructure and economic initiative, accompanied by 1.4 billion US dollars in funding over 3 years. The funding will be very huge, and the fund can be utilized by the member countries. And a new cooperation platform were announced for green industry, energy, and use of Chinese Beidou satellite. The Beidou satellite was uses for navigation system by member state, can be used by the member states. So you can connect this thing with our uh, like India NASA cooperation and the NISAR satellite, and it will be it can be used for the geospatial technology, or like geo positioning, or like remote sensing, all these things. So now China is offering this service of this Beidou satellite for navigation, and it can be used by the member state. So a new cooperation platform for announced for green industry, which is very important for China, like the green industry, including that dimensions of sustainable development and the use of green energy, green technology, everything. And the key documents adopted at SEO Summit of 2025. One is Tianjin Declaration, that Tianjin is the place where the SEO Summit is conducted, and the Tianjin Declaration, it's overreaching the political statement of unity. So China is talking about, or like that CEO is talking about the unity in political dimension and reaffirm the commitment to multipolarity. So there is no proposal, or it's like nothing for like a dominance of any country. It's reaffirm the commitment for multipolarity, sovereignty of every member country, or like every nation, like the any no country will be trying to override, or like try to overpower, or like trying to interfere in another country's internal matters. The sovereignty will be reaffirmed, and the new interference in their internal, or is like their foreign policy also. So, and a peaceful coexistence. See, now you are understanding that some these words are having a historical background, or it's like some you might have heard these kind of words in Panchsheel Agreement. So this new it's like Tianjin Declaration, the document have a deeper connection with the Panchashil Agreement, this mutual non-interference, peaceful coexistence, or it's like respecting the sovereignty of other country. These things having a connection with the Panchashil Agreement. It was existed between India and China, and we will be discussing that position of SCO as a counterbalance to the Western dominance. So actually, these things you have to read in connection with the recent trade war, or it's like the tariff war, which is started by the United States, that implementing tariff over India, or it's like threatening India for buying crude oil or oil from Russia. So you have to connect these things with the SEO's Tianjin Declaration. So SEO will be positioned as a counterbalance to the Western, or as like to be specific, US dominance. And SEO development strategy, there's another document for 2026 to 2035. It's a long-term roadmap for economic, security, and cultural cooperation between the member countries, and focus on infrastructure, trade connectivity, and digital economy and sustainable growth. So these dimensions also being connected here, and the cooperation program from 2026 to 2030 on extremism. So China is addressing, also like SEO is addressing that extremism, the challenge of extremism also. It coordinates the approach against the terrorism, separatism, and religious extremism. So these things are these are threats are faced by India also. Is currently we are facing these kind of threats: terrorism, separatism, and the regional religious extremism. So China is also facing these kind of things along their border and or inside the state, and it enhances joint training, intelligence sharing, and cyber monitoring for countering these kind of extremist or like these kind of threats. And a roadmap for energy cooperation till 2030. It strengthened the regional collaboration on oil, gas, renewable energy, and nuclear energy. So you have to note down this thing. Nuclear energy is also, it is important for India. India is actually trying to achieve a 3-stage nuclear program. So this you have to read these things in line with the supply of nuclear fuel and this technological cooperation between, like, in China is one of the major, also like the major supplier of critical minerals and critical technology. In Independence Day speech, our Prime Minister was emphasizing the need of self-sustainability or like self-sufficiency in critical technology, including these chips, like IC chips and all. So, being the largest supplier of critical minerals, critical technology, China is talking about the collaboration in the energy sector also, and pushes for a stable and sustainable energy security framework within SCO countries. And 4 new SCO centers were proposed: and Security Research Center at Center for Policy and Strategic Studies, Cyber Crime Center for combating gross border digital crimes. Now you know that like that cyber terrorism or like cyber threat is increasing day by day, and the cyber okay, then cyber security center for securing network data and digital infrastructure. So you have to read in line with the India's not so efficient, can be maybe we can term like that, not so efficient cyber security, that our cyber security system is not that uh, what can I say, that not state of the art till now. We are actually trying to achieve the sovereignty in cyber security. So that time SEO is now SEO is proposing these thing also, cyber security center and an anti-drug center. You have to read in line with the golden triangle. Uh, Anti-drug center coordinate campaign against the narcotic trafficking that India is facing along its uh, eastern border. That not only eastern border, like both like western and eastern border, but mainly eastern border. This drug trafficking and anti-national operation. So what is this SEO summit? Important for India, and how is India China's engagement in the summit? So it is important because Modi's first visit in last 7 years. The last 7 years, Modi visiting China for the first time. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi trip marked the first visit to China since 2018. You know that after that many incident happened in Doklam incident and Galwan Valley incident. Like there were some tension between India and China because of this border issue, that claim over Arunachal Pradesh, staple visa issues. Many things were there. And after 2018, Prime Minister visiting China for the first time and is going to get potential diplomatic throw, because that all these disagreements or like all these issues will be like decreasing, and we are moving for a cooperative or it's like connection between India and China. And the it emphasizes we are partners, not rivalries, not rivals. So that Modi and Xi Jinping reaffirmed that India and China are development partners. So this is how a new world order is being formed or developed. We are not adversaries, so we are not in a competition, or it's like, yeah, the healthy competition will be there, but we are not adversaries. And then emphasize the progress on border de-escalation and the importance of peace and stability along the line of actual control, LAC. LAC is the border between India and China, and the border de-escalation, like that smaller matters should not be escalated into a larger clash between two countries. The issue should be that cleared, or issue should be solved then and there itself. And the concrete initiative announced that resumption of the direct flight previously suspended due to COVID-19. The direct flight was suspended. It should be resumed, and documented progress on border disengagement and improving stability, like demilitarization of border, or it's like like yeah, like arms should be reduced, like ammunition should be reduced along the border, and peaceful coexistence between two countries, and plans to restart the Kailas Manasarovar Yatra, which was very important for the pilgrims from India. In the pilgrims Kailas Manasarovar Yatra, the expanded connectivity and enhance the people-to-people tie between India and China. That means like China, or it's like we both the countries are emphasizing on the soft power diplomacy, or it's like people-people connection or cultural diplomacy. And the discussion focused on the trade balance, cooperation on critical supplies, like trade balance, like, yeah, there's a disproportion of trade between there. So trade balance means the export and import should be balanced, like it should not be beneficial for only one country, or else like it should not be high on one side, or it should not be like low on other side. This trade balance should be reduced, sorry, trade balance should be achieved, this trade disproportion should be reduced. And the cooperation on critical supplies like rare earth minerals and fertilizers, and the equitable investment in sectors such as electric vehicles. Yeah, actually, like according to our for us, we are currently running on FAME, that implementation of faster adoption of electric vehicles. So for us, the supply of electric vehicles, or also like these batteries or technologies which allow that our electric vehicle to go for a longer range with a lesser charging time, it is important. And China is actually mastering the technology of electrical vehicles. Even it is the BYD kind of companies, like BYD is overtaking the sale of Tesla kind of vehicles. So China will be an asset for India's FAME program. If you look at the strategic and diplomatic dimension of this SEO summit, China's border vision, that summit alongside commemorated the victory day of China's victory day, that victory over the Japanese invasion. It was like they're terming like it's the victory against that fascist movement historically. So the victory day event, it was on September 3rd. So it is commemorating that victory day, conveyed the China's broader ambition to shape the global South-led multipolar order. So what is like? It's talking about South-South cooperation. What do you mean by South-South cooperation? It's not about the equator. It's not geographical term. That South doesn't mean like a southern hemisphere. South means the developing countries. The developing countries of South America, Africa, Asia, these are South countries. And the Europe, America, that USA, Australia, these are North countries. So that these countries are like including us, including India, that Southern American countries, South American countries, Asian countries, African countries, including India and China. These countries we are developing countries. These countries are termed as South. So look at this, that red color marked countries are South countries. So the, you can see like that equator pass like this. So the countries like we are that for example, we and China, we are at the northern hemisphere, but still for a geopolitical term or as a developmental dimension, we have been termed as southern countries, like developing countries. Okay, that USA, Canada, this European Union countries are northern countries. So the South-South cooperation, like developing countries cooperation. As you're talking about that, developing countries cooperation. South-led, sorry, South-led multipolar world order, and it antithetical for to USA's liberal hegemony. So it's against the USA's try to be dominant in the world. And the global reaction, that summit image of Modi, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin, Russian premier, together speak the speculations in Western media about the new world order emerging. You know that yesterday the Trump mocked this trios, like in Modi's, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin trio, and said that Russia and India is actually going to the dark corners, like that, allying with China. That something as a sarcastic, like the President Trump wished best of luck to both of the countries, that we are aligning with the darker China, like that. Or else like uh, there was a Twitter, or else like X tweet by Trump. So this summit, that image of Modi ji and Putin together spoken speculations in Western media about new world order emerging, and the financial terms noted to be partners, not rivals. This should be noted, and messaging as a significant ease of tension through though not a full reset. So you cannot expect like that both countries, like, or as like even India and China will be like tomorrow they will be completely like moving together. Tensions will be there, but tension should be like diplomatically, or as like bilaterally talked, and it will be resolved as much as possible. And the middle path diplomacy, this India is also usually followed this middle path diplomacy. You know that after the independence, India had two options: either to join with the like capitalist pole led by the USA, or else like to join with the communist pole, or else like socialist pole led by the USSR. So what India did? India followed a non-alignment policy. India led this non-alignment movement, and many other countries, like including African countries, joined India's non-alignment movement. Why India followed that? India followed because India doesn't want to align with any country, like aligning with another global power, and uh, sacrificing our sovereignty will be something like an insult to the 200 years of struggle for independence. And India feared about another colonization by these global powers, or like emerging like powers, that bipolar powers. And India doesn't want to sacrifice its sovereignty. India doesn't want to sacrifice its independence. India want a independent foreign policy also. But at the same time, India followed another policy called de-hyphenation of relations. The de-hyphenation of relation means India will be having a relation with the USSR. India will be having relation with the US also. But India's relation with the USSR will not or should not affect the relation with the US. India will be having a relation with both of the pole, but one relation should not or will not be affecting the relation with another country. That concept is called a de-hyphenation of relations. So India followed a middle path diplomacy since the independence. In their participation and messaging at the summit underscored that strategic autonomy, balancing ties with both China and USA, even amid heightened the US tariff. Yes, US tariff is there, but still India is actually like India participated the joint military exercise with the US, so that what these kind of tariff or they will not affect the relation with the USA. You should not feel like, you should not understand in this manner like India is completely keeping USA as a like rivalry and joining with China and Russia. It is not like that. India having a relation with both of this country, but India will follow a middle path, and India's relation with both the country will not be interconnected. So India will follow a de-hyphenation of relation with the both of the country, right? So in this SEOs thing, we have to remember the famous Panchil agreement, that mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, one principle, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in internal affairs, equality and mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence. These terms you can see in the SEO declaration also. And the China adopted this, or else like many countries inspired by these like principles, and they modified a little, and they have implemented in their foreign policy. So this Panchil was a very historical, or else like very important for a global foreign policy. And here the Xi Jinping proposed a 4-point plan that deeper trust between countries, SEO countries, like mainly India and China, strategic communication between members, expanded cooperation in many dimensions, and safeguarding common interest of this regional grouping. That Xi Jinping's 4-point plan. You can use this information in your mains answer writing also, like when there is a IR question comes like about the new world order, or it's like what is the outcome of SEO 2025, like before, if your mains next year mains, if that comes another SEO summit will not happen, you can expect a question from these things, and you can quote these important term in your answer, will definitely add values to your answer. Still, we are facing challenges in implementation of these things. What are the challenges? Like border clashes are still there. It is not completely. Incidents like Doklam 2017, Galwan Valley incident in 2020, and the mutual trust and show that the agreement on peace are fragile. Like even though we are forming this kind of agreement, earlier also this agreement were there. This is not the first time that India and China is going for a mutual agreement and peaceful cooperation and all. But still, that clashes happen, and the trade asymmetry is there. Bilateral trade is heavily tilted in China's favor. That's what I am talking about, that trade imbalance. So the bilateral trade is actually heavily lifted to China's benefit, or it's like leaving India with a 100 billion deficit that fuels economic dependence. So that export import deficit, that means like India is exporting to China, India is importing from China also, but the that import from China minus the export to China is around 100 billion US dollars approximately. That much trade deficit is there. So this much huge deficit will make India in economic dependence, and sovereignty concern, like project like Belt Road Initiative, BRI, One Belt One Road Initiative, that CPEC through that POK, Pak occupied Kashmir, and along with the Chinese naval presence, that string of pearl policy of China in Indian Ocean, the naval presence in many islands and Sri Lanka also. So this naval presence directly challenge India's territorial integrity. So these things are actually not completely solved and all, as China is now claiming on South China Sea. We don't know, tomorrow China will claim over Indian Ocean also. Like that, they are taking over many island nations. They are they parked their submarine in Sri Lanka, and they are in getting influence in Maldives. So this string of pearl policy, that China's string of pearl policy, is also challenging for India. And geopolitical balancing, India's growing alignment with the Quad nations, USA, Japan, and Australia, that including India, that coordination. So this alignment with coordinations actually, that US is perceived by China as a containment strategy, deepening the suspicion by China. Okay, so when India is aligning with coordination, China is looking at this cooperation as in a suspicious manner. Like India is aligning with the so-called maybe rivalry, that USA, Japan, and Australia. So India is aligning with the. Actually, there is no multipolarism now. Like bipolarism now, but still, even though we are talking about multipolar world order, in some way this world is turning into a bipolarism, like north and south. North means developed countries and south means developing countries. So I don't know what will happen in the near future. So what are the opportunities here? Economic cooperation, like both sides can collaborate in technology, renewable energy, then pharmaceuticals, and diversify and strengthen their economies. Both nations have a very good technology advancement are there, good market reach is there, and that production capacity, like can be like produce a manufacture in a cheaper cost. And multilateral platform like through SEO, BRICS, G20, India and China can jointly counterbalance Western dominance in global governance. And the global reform shared interest coexist in pushing WTO, World Trade Organization reforms. Like together, India and China can influence that UN and allied organizations like WTO, stronger climate actions, and United Nations Security Council restructuring to reflect emerging power. As of now, you know that the United Nations Security Council is dominated by many these developed countries, okay, or it's like northern countries. So we can restructure UNSC, United Nations Security Council, in a way that the South or it's like the developing countries will get, or it's like the emerging power also will get their share in the some share in the council. Then cultural link, that common heritage through the Buddhism, pilgrimage, these things are there. Soft power diplomacy, it is there that the tourism create a soft power bridge to improve the people to people ties. So we have a common connection in culture, like in Buddhism, or it's like historical connections are there, or it's like this Kailas Manasara Yatra kind of connections are there. Cultural, or it's like some movies kind of connections can be established. So people to people connection. There was a debate, or it's like not debate, there was a confusion like where to go for a trip, Maldives or Lakshadweep. At least some of you have a plan, like after clearing civil service, I'll go for a trip in Maldives, or else like Lakshadweep. Some will be like, I'll not go to Maldives, I'll go to Lakshadweep. My honeymoon will be in Maldives. Like this kind of planning will be there. So there is something common for both of these island nations, Maldives and Lakshadweep is not a island nation, but islands. Lakshadweep is part of India. Okay, so something is common for both. That is sea level rise. Sea level in the central Indian Ocean. A study shows that a coral microtel in Maldives show sea level in the central ocean has been rising since the late 1950. Earlier it assumed that the sea level rise started in 1990s, but it shows that in 1950s onwards this rise was there, and the sea level acceleration begins in 1950, not at the 1990s. Earlier assumed that coral, that micro atoll, that it's actually natural tide gauges. You can measure that tidal gauge. Like atoll is a kind of a geographical structure. I mean, not structure, geographical, like land, what can I say, we can use it as a natural tide gauges. And the uranium dating provides a long-term perceived sea level record. So the record shows that the sea level rise started in early 1950s, and the coral interpretations like El Nino, Indian Ocean dipole, or like lunar cycles, these are responsible for this. And the central Indian Ocean showing earlier and faster rise than the continental coastline due to the regional factors. So that these two islands having more threat due to sea level rise. So what are the causes of sea level rise? One thing is thermal expansion. That why these areas having more threat of sea level rise. The thermal expansion, like warming of ocean, will expand that raising global sea level. So when the global warming increases, or like when the uh, ice cap melts in the polar region and the sea level rises, that impact will be more on equatorial region because of that thermal expansion of ocean. And the melting of glaciers and ice sheet, Himalayan and Arctic and Antarctic contributes also. Then Indian Ocean warming, that above average heating strengthen the circulation and pushing higher sea level locally. And climate variability, that uh, El, El Nino oscillation. And so Indian Ocean dipole and the wind anomalies amplifies the function that fluctuations in the region. So what are the implications here? Ecological implication, coral bleaching, that will reduce the sunlight penetration. Because of this, sunlight will not go through the deeper side of ocean, and the coastal erosion can happen. Ecosystem losses can be there, and social threat to the displacement and loss of livelihood in low-lying Maldives and Lakshadweep areas. So it will be affecting human also, social life also. Economically, it will affecting fisheries, tourism, port, and infrastructure faces long-term risk because of the sea level rise. And geopolitically, climate refugees, that growing term, climate refugee. Who are climate refugees? That refugees, or it's like the people who are migrating from a adversary climate to another safer place. These migrants, we term it as climate refugees. It is not recognized by UN or any thing, but this term is actually emerging because of drought, because of flood. People when are migrating, or it's like people are refugees and going to another place, they are climate refugees. So geopolitically, climate refugees is a growing concern. Governance challenge will be there because of this refugee crisis, and the regional security concern because of migration. Important for prelims, Mira variable star. It's like a new IUCCA-led study has uses Mira variable stars to measure the Hubble constant with a 3.7 percentage precision. So this is a organization for space, astronomy, and atmosphere. So what is this Mira variable star? What is Hubble constant? Mira variable star are cool pulsating red giant star. They are cool pulsating red giant star whose brightness varies due to the expansion and contraction cycle in their outer layer and belong to the class of long period variable star. So why, how we are using this Mira variable star, or what is actually Hubble constant? Hubble constant measure the current rate at which the universe expanding. You know that our universe is expanding after the Big Bang. Universe is expanding throughout the from the beginning. So universe is expanding. Using Hubble's constant, we can measure the expansion rate of universe, and it indicates the galaxies moving away from us at a speed proportional to their distance. So for that, we are using Hubble's constant. So using Mira variable star as a reference, we are we are measuring how faster the universe is expanding. So that's why Mira variable star is important. You can expect or not expect. I am not saying like that, but still note down this for your prelims. It's a factual information. Okay, government methodology for calculating green credit. You know, you're aware about carbon credit. Now, what is this green credit? And the Indian government having a new methodology for measuring the green credit. So, Environment Ministry released a revised methodology 2025 calculating green credit for tree plantation project. So, what is green credit? It's a market-based incentive mechanism under the Green Credit Program. It's launched in October 2023 and reward voluntary eco-friendly actions. What are the eco-friendly actions? Planting of trees, afforestation. So these things will be rewarded. And the tree plantation, mangrove restoration, sustainable farming, water conservation, waste management, these all are eco-friendly projects, actions. The credit means measurable reward for positive environmental outcome. So using this, we can measure how eco-friendly or like how positively these actions are affecting environment. So what are the aim of this? It encourages voluntary participation of industries, cooperative communities in ecological restoration, which was or is like maybe down degraded, or is like maybe damaged by their projects, or else part of their CSR, corporate social responsibility. So shift from tree counting. Earlier, that earlier methodology was counting of tree, but now 2025 strategy or government methodology is like it's shifting from the tree counting. We are not just counting the number of trees. We will be uh, like uh, we will be like going for an improvised ecological method. How like the sustainability, how long this tree is there, like that, how much the canopy is. Okay, we'll be there. So it link corporate applications, that CSR, afforestation compliances, with long-term ecological benefit. Like just a mere plantation of tree will not account for a green credit. It should be sustained, or it should be grown for a particular period, like 5 years kind of thing. Okay, so what are the key features of this? Survival linked credit. That means mere plantation will not count. That credit award only after 5 years, ensuring the tree survival and growth. The tree should be survived and tree growth should be there. It will be counted only after 5 years. One credit is one tree survive. One green credit is one tree survive. And the quality based requirement, like minimum 40% of the canopy density required for issuance. That canopy should be minimum 40%. And the tradability, credits are non-tradable. Please note it down. These green credits are non-tradable, non-transferable. We cannot trade it, we cannot transfer it. But within the holding subsidiary company. One company is holding another company, like subsidiary company will be there. So within them, they can exchange this along exchange between subsidiary companies, and can be exchanged once, only once. Okay, only once they can exchange these subsidiary companies. And compensatory afforestation compliances, CSR compliances, project linked obligations. We can just what can I say, like exchange only for these things. Compensatory afforestation compliances, when a company is making damages to the environment, they have to compensate that. So that company having a subsidiary company, or else like company having another like sister concern is there, they are having this green credit, so they can exchange, but only once. If it is for CSR responsibility, they can exchange. If it is for a project linked afforestation, okay, obligation, they can uh, exchange, but only once. And credit are exhaustible after use. Only once this credit can be used. Once used, it will be exhausted. So these factual information you have to note it down. Like in the prelims examination, you can expect this statement kind of questions about green credit and new methodology of counting the green credit in India. So these statements are important. And the verification will be done by agencies with application paying verification fee, and the transition process, like project started under 2014 earlier, that earlier project which started before 2014 will follow that earlier methodology only. New project will be following this thing. So what are the significance? Move away from plantation number to ecological impact, survival, canopy cover, and promotes quality of forestation. Just mere plantation will not count. And restoration of the degraded land. Provide verified mechanism for companies to move for CSR and economical sustainable governance things, environmental sustainable governance, environmental, social and governance, and legal obligations for compulsory afforestation. Encourages long-term ecological benefit over short-term plantation drives. So the sustainability of this plantation, sustainability of this afforestation can be preserved. Another important thing for a prelims examination about Bhairav Commando Battalion. Bhairav. You might have heard about Rudra commandos. The new thing is Bhairav Commando. What it is? It is to strengthen the swift strike capability along the border with China and Pakistan, along LOC and LAC, line of control and line of action control. So it is newly raised a light commando battalion. Around 250 soldiers will be there in each battalion, formed under save and rise approach. What do you mean by save and rise approach? For this commando, for this battalion, we are not recruiting fresh recruit, or we are not taking fresh recruit from youth. What we are doing? It's kind of a pooled service, or else like we will be saving some personnel, army personnels from every battalion. We will be training them, and we will be making creating a new battalion called the Rudra Commandos. Like how our para SF, how our special forces is being made. That existing army personnel will be taken. That exceptional like or else like better, exceptionally good army personnel will be taken and trained, and will be appointed as, or else like will be creating para SF, that like that we have done for para SF special forces. Like the same way, save and rise method. Like some people will be selected from the armed forces, will be trained, saved from armed forces, will be raised them with the extra training and all, and we will create the Rudra battalion. Bhairav battalion. Okay. So drawn from existing infantry battalion, no fresh troop accretion will be there, and it complement army's existing 10 para SF and 5 para airborne battalion. So it is a complementary for these special forces, 10 para special forces and 5 para airborne parachute regiment. Objectives are enhancing swift strike capability along critical border sectors and relieve para SF units so that they can focus on strategic high risk mission deep inside the enemy territory. So now we are actually deployed. We deployed these para SF along the border, critical borders. So by nurturing, or like by creating these Bhairav commandos, we can deploy Bhairav commandos along the LOC and LAC, and we can relieve that para SF, and we can train, or like we can use para special forces for strategic operations, or like high risk operations, which is for they have been trained for. Okay. And provided rapid high impact responses involving battlefield, example drone and saturated warfare, they will be compatible for that. The feature will be, size will be around 250 soldiers, 7 to 8 officers will be in the troop. The training will be 2 to 3 months. and regional centers, and 1 month advanced exposure with the special forces, like how the special forces being trained. 1 month exposure will be there. Equipment will be modern, assault weapons will be there, drones, surveillance gears, tactical gadgets are there. The agility will be smaller than infantry battalion. Okay, that infantry battalion will be around 600 something troop will be there. Now it is only 500, 250, smaller than para SF also, and optimized in mobility and flexibility. Smaller troop for and mobility and flexibility will be high. The deployment locations, first 5 units will be deployed, 3 in Northern Command, like Leh, Srinagar, and Nagota, Northern Command, Udhampur, and 5 in Western Desert Sector and Registan area, and 1 in Eastern Hilly Terrain, or where our Assam Rifles is, or it's like where our SSB, Sasastra Seema Bhel, they are guarding. So function will be conduct reconnaissance. They will be collecting data. They will be continuously monitoring that activities over the border and interaction and disruption of the enemy forces. Then provide cross-border tactical support in contested areas if needed. Operations in all terrain. They are an all-terrain group. Like you can see that the Northern Command, or it's like the Himalayan region, ice regions, or it's like uh, they can work in even that Siachen glaciers. They can work in Registan region, like that desert region. They can work in northeastern guerrilla kind of thing. So there are all-terrain group, mountain, desert, border regions, and supplement artillery, surveillance, and drone-based unit also. So actually, the significance is they are that bridges operation gap between regular infantry and para SF. There is a huge operation gap between the regular infantry and para SF. Para and SF is an allied force, so their operation, everything will be different. And the infantry, sometimes like the cooperation between these two is sometimes may not be possible because of their different training and different operation strategies. So this Bhairava commandos will be bridging the operation gap and improve border rapid reaction capability against China and Pakistan, reflect army modernization drive alongside the Bhairava battalion, also raising Rudra brigades, then Shaktiban regiments and Divyastra batteries. Along with that, Bhairava also added. So this part of Indian Army's modernization. It enhances India's preparedness for hybrid high-tech warfare also. Unified District Information System for Education Plus 2024-25 report. What the report says, why it is important. Sanjay Labor. Yeah. So the Ministry of Education releases UDSFE plus report highlighting the critical gap in school infrastructure, digital access, and the teacher availability. So this topic is important for your governance, or like yeah, governance perspective. Like it is important for your governance paper mains. So what is this UDSC, Unified District Information System, India's largest annual national data system for school education from grade 1 to 12. It covers infrastructure like toilet, electricity, ICT, waters in the schools, infrastructure, enrollment and dropout, teacher strength and training, digital readiness, health facilities in the school, learning environment in government, aided and private schools. Everything, it is covering everything in a comprehensive manner. So what are the key findings of this? Digital divide is there. 65% schools have a computers, only 58 functional. That means only 65% school have computers. Rest doesn't have a computer. In that, only 58% is functional. That means like 42% computers are non-functional, or it's like no computer are there. Internet access only 63% overall. Government schools 58.6%, private schools 77.1%. Regional disparities are like South, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, nearly universal coverage is there. For Kerala and Tamil Nadu, universal coverage of digital infrastructure is there. But Eastern nations, Eastern states, or it's like Northeast states are lagging. West Bengal, Eastern state, only 18.6% computers are there. And Meghalaya, 26.4% only. This much divide is there, digital divide among students. Infrastructure, toilet, 98.6% schools have toilet. Hand wash, 95.9%. Drinking water, 19% there. Gap is there, 25,000 schools lack working electricity. Okay, electricity is not there for around not more than 25,000 schools. Enrollment concern, 5.1% school have less than, sorry, enrollment concern, only 5.1% school, percentage school, only less than 10 students. Like 5.1% school in the country, only 10 students are there. And there are zero enrollment schools are also there in Ladakh. 32.2 per school, per 2% schools are having zero enrollment. No students have been enrolled there. Arunachal and Uttarakhand, nearly 22% schools are having zero enrollment. The teacher shortage is there. Pupil teacher ratio, that number of teachers for number of students, or it's like how many students for one teacher, that ratio. Primarily in primary standard, it is fine that 20 students for one teacher. One teacher will be handling 20 students. But in higher classes, it's in alarming. For example, Jharkhand for 47.1. That means around 47 students, only one teacher in the school. And Maharashtra and Odisha 37:1. That means like for one teacher is for 37 students. And norms that you have to compare this according to the right to education norm and the new education policy 2020 norm. RTA norm says that 30 students for one teacher. One teacher should be available for 30 students. So look at the higher educations here. It is higher than the RT norm. And new education policy says that 20 to 25 teachers for students for one teacher. One teacher should be for 20 to 25 students. But it is very alarming in the higher classes. And teacher training, national average is 91% teachers are trained. Gap is there. Meghalaya, only 72% teachers are trained in primary and 80% in upper primary. Health support, medical checkups in 75.5% schools, and poor coverage in Bihar. Bihar, only 32.7% coverage there. Nagaland, 44.9% health support coverage is there. So you can use these data in your mains answer writing. Servo indigenous brain tool. India indigenously developed this. What is this Serbo indigenous development? ICMR with AIMS Bhopal and Nimhans Bengaluru, and that Bioscan Research launched the Cerebo, a handheld indigenous device to detect the traumatic brain injuries. It will be like this. Traumatic brain injuries will be detected. How these traumatic brain injuries? What actually that traumatic brain injury? It is disruption of a normal brain function due to sudden head trauma, hitting or something. It can be mild, conclusion, or severe, often causing a long-term disability, morbidity, and causes in India mainly due to road accidents, thanks to the youth who are not wearing helmets. Falls will be 20 to 25% because of that falling. Okay, and violence, because of violence, that head injury, nearly 10%. Symptoms and the consequences are there. Immediate loss of consciousness, headache, dizziness, seizure, confusion, immediate causes. And the complication will be intracranial bleeding in the brain, then edema, like swelling in the brain, can be lead to a serious condition like coma. Long-term memory loss can be there. Cognitive decline, like we cannot do actions according to the will. Depression, behavioral changes, risk of neuro degenerative diseases also can be an impact. Hidden risks are there, like mild DBA may go unnoticed but worsen if it untreated. Mild traumatic brain injury. So what this thing? It's a handheld portable non-invasive diagnosis device for brain injury. It's like just a scanning, handheld. Uses near infrared spectroscopy with the machine learning to detect the abnormalities in the brain. It aims to provide low-cost, rapid, radiation-free diagnostic tool or traumatic brain injuries, and especially useful when the useful where CT or MRI facilities are absent. So in remote area, village area, when the CT scan, MRI scans are not available, we can use this Cerebot, and for a rural clinic, ambulance, or as like disaster zone, we can use this. So what are the features? It will be detect intracranial bleeding and brain edema in less than 1 minute. Safe for infants, pregnant women. It's a non-radiation technology, so it is safe. And usability, like medics Unskilled staff also can be used as just as scanning. Ambulances, trauma centers, military and disaster zones. Output will be color-coded result. Simple interpretation will be there. Whether there is any bleeding or anything is there, it will make color-coded. Simple interpretation will be there, and validate via multi-center clinical trials approved for emergency and military uses. So why it is important? It's bridge the diagnostic gap between rural and underserved areas, like where these MRI, CT scans are not possible. Enable the early detection and right, reduces the death and long-term disability, and reduce dependence on costly CT and MRI scan. Like we can use this one mission to scan these things, and it potential for global adoption in trauma, emergency, and medicine. Another important thing you should know for your prelims: Yuddha Abhyas, army exercise between India and USA. Okay, it is happening in between this kind of what can I say, like tariff war, or as like X war, okay, Twitter war, or as like mocking. In between this has happening, that Yuddha Abhyas, joint military exercise. India and USA began their largest ever edition of Yuddha Abhyas, Fort Wainwright, Alaska. Now this time USA is hosting. Okay, so it will be hosted by hosted in an alternative manner. Like 1 year that 1 year USA will be hosting, 1 year India will be hosting this exercise. So now it is in Alaska. So what is an annual bilateral military exercise between India and Indian Army and US Army, focus counter-terrorism, peacekeeping, and high altitude warfare. And 2025 host will be United States Fort Wainwright, Alaska. It's a sub-Arctic climate. So it will be like the training will be useful for India's high altitude warfare also. The history is it started in 2004 under India-US Defense Cooperation Framework, held annual alternatively in India and USA. Over the years, expanded in scope, scale, and technological use. Participation nations 2025 edition: India soldiers from the Madras Regiment is participating. United States, the 5th Infantry Regiment, that Bobcats, part of Arctic Wolf Brigade combat teams, 11th Airborne Division is participating from the United States side. So aim is to enhance interoperability, trust, and coordination between armies, train for high altitude, extreme cold climate operations, strengthen the joint capability in counter-terrorism peacekeeping. Feature is duration, it will be 2 weeks. This drill include joint heliborne operations, surveillance in UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, drones, deployment, rock craft and mountain warfare, casualty evacuation, and combat medical aid, like for health medical troops, integrated use of artillery, aviation, and electronic warfare. The significance is enhanced US-India defense partnership under the comprehensive global strategic partnership, strengthen the joint preparedness for mountain warfare, critical for India, that is for against China in Himalayan region, and symbolic that conducted despite trade tensions are there, showing the trade tension, showing the continuity in the defense ties. Like trade tensions are still there, but defense tie continues. That's why I am talking about, just because we are aligning with China, or it's like we are having a good term with China, doesn't mean that we are keeping US as a rivalry. Our terms are like these things will continue like this only. Like geopolitics is highly dynamic, but something will be will be continue like that only. It will not be like it will not be immature. That's it. And the complement Malabar Naval Access Squad 2025 Afghan. Digital yen. You know that our central bank digital currency proposal was there. Now, Japanese yen is going digital. Japanese Post Bank announced launch of a digital yen by 2026 financial year. That 2025-2026 financial year. Developed with the decurrent DCP Japanese yen, that is DCJPY. One of the Japanese biggest government linked pushes into the blockchain based deposit currencies. So digital currency like a cryptocurrency, but this government, it's a fiat currency issued by the government, uses blockchain technology also. Yeah, blockchain technology is needed for digital currency. You know what is blockchain technology. A blockchain based deposit currency, it's fully backed 1:1 by the fiat yen. What do you mean by fully backed 1:1? One digital yen, or it's like one digital Japanese yen is equal to that stable coin yen. For example, if India is launching CBDC, like central bank digital currency. One Indian digital rupee will be equal to 1 Indian rupee. Digital rupee equal to Indian normal rupee. Okay, that means, like, for example, 100 digital rupee is equal to our 100 rupee note. So that one digital currency will be backed by our fiat currency. That is 1:1 backing, fully backed 1:1. That that cryptocurrency, one cryptocurrency is not equal to any US dollar or any other currency. That value will be very high, right? But here the digital yen is one digital yen equal to one stable currency, 1 yen, normal yen. That is fully backed 1:1 fiat yen. So difference from a typical stable coin issued via regular banking system, ensuring higher security and credibility. So this will be regularly, I mean, like through banking system. Aim to provide instant, transparent, convenient digital transaction for depositors. Excellent blockchain uses in mainstream financial, example, digital securities and asset tokenization. So how it works? Customers can convert yen deposit into tokens, digital token, real-time digital security blockchain system. It will be there, and entirely ledgered and blockchain, ensuring the traceability and transparency. The features is 1:1 backed by fiat yen. It's non-viability, volatility risk, because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency have a volatility risk. This is fully backed. Blockchain is used, instant settlement, traditional bank transfer, unlike traditional bank transfer, and usable by ordinary deposit, and tokenized deposit currency is also that distinct from the private stable coin. It is significant because Japan's digital finance ecosystem strengthened, position Japan as a leader in regular blockchain banking, bridges the gap between traditional finance and digital assets, and could inspire the CBDC, central bank digital currency debates globally. So it will be inspiring for India also. Another thing, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Central is reviving this to reduce the subsidy cost by removing ineligible beneficiaries, as food subsidy bill crossed 2 lakh crore in 2026 financial year. So why it started? When it is this free food grain distribution scheme under the National Food Security Act 2013 provide wheat and rice free of cost throughout the public distribution system. Launched in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic as a relief measure. So it was launched 5 years back as a relief measure, 5 to 6 years back. Now government is planning to remove the ineligible people. The Ministry of Consumer Affairs and Food Public Distribution is responsible for this. It ensures the food nutritional security and mitigate hardship during the crisis pandemic like COVID, and uphold equity and inclusiveness under the National Food Security Scheme. And the components are Antyodaya Anna Yojana household 35 kg food grains per family per month, priority household 5 kilogram wheat and rice per person per month, and distribution via 5 lakh fair price shop like our ration shop across India. So what is the features? Or it covers 81.35 crore beneficiaries. Annual allocation will be 56 to 58 million tons. It is free of cost. Earlier nominal, let's say, price were there. Digital reforms, Aadhaar seeking key, eKYC is there. 83% verification done. And in budget financial year 2026, the budget allocation is 2.03 lakh crore rupees. That re-verification driven is removing ineligible beneficiaries are there, like for example, income tax payers, four-wheel owners, non-user of users of ration shop. They will be removed from this scheme. The significant is that is the world's largest food security program. India's program helped to prevent hunger and starvation during COVID-19 and support the sustainable development goal too, like zero hunger. This supported for this, and India's commitment to welfare state, and challenges like huge fiscal burden is there, leakage is there, inclusiveness error is there, inclusion error, exclusion is there, nutritional gap is there, like that food which is provided is not much nutritious. So these challenges are already facing. High performance manufacturing platform. It is in line with the bio E3 policy. So what is this? Launched in New Delhi by Department of Biotechnology, then BARAC under the bio E3 policy, biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. BioE3, biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. So inaugurated by the Union Minister of State and State for Science and Technology, Jitendra Singh. What is it? It's a national network for advanced foundries and bio manufacturing hub, provide world-class infrastructure, tools, and technologies to scale bio-based innovation from lab to industry. So what are the BioE3 policy targeted strategies? Are the sectors: marine and space research, carbon capture and utilization, carbon sequestration, climate resilient and agriculture, bioagriculture, biotechnology, precision biotherapies in medicines, smart protein and functional food, biopolymers, enzymes, high value bio-based chemicals. These are the sectors focusing bio 3. So what is this high performance thing? It accelerates biomanufacturing innovation, reduce import dependence, and boost Atmanirbhar Bharat and build multi-trillion-dollar bio economy by 2047, and support startups and SMEs in academia, industries, and commercialization. 21 bio enabler identify under the bio 3, bio E3. Coverage areas like microbial strains and smart protein, probiotic and bio-based chemicals, cell therapy, mRNA-based medicine, marine bio innovation, sustainable biofuel. These things are there. Green energy paradox. What is it? Despite 44 gigawatt renewable energy capacity ready for deployment, India faces demand-side barriers, weak power purchase agreement, and grid issues leading to underutilization. We have the potential, but we are not utilizing. That is green energy paradox. Paradox. What is the green energy paradox? It's contradiction. India having ample renewable capacity, but cannot fully use it due to systemic financial and policy constraints, and coal lock versus renewable energy potential. Coal dominates while renewable energy remain standard. So what is the current energy mix? You have to note it down. Coal and ignite for 79% of the domestic power. Renewable energy share, excluding large hydro, just 3.8%. That much huge difference is there. Import dependence is 85% oil and 50% gas is import dependent. Then idle renewable energy, which is not using 44 gigawatts standard without a purchasing power and power purchase agreement. Reliability deficit, like SAIDI 600 minutes per year. Thailand 35, Malaysia 46. So this reliability issue is also there. So this green energy paradox has two dimensions. One is supply side, one is demand side. Supply side readiness, 44 gigawatt RE project is ready but unused. Falling global solar wind cost, yet India's tariff is higher. Government support like project linked incentives, viability gap funding, it's not there. And storage backed renewable energy costly, like storage 6.6 rupees per unit, also like 9 rupees per unit. That's max, costlier than the coal. Storage is another problem. Demand side weakness, like discom reluctance, prefer long term cheaper coal power purchase agreement. Grid integration cost, high balancing transmission expensive, inflexible grid like lack of smart meters, demand responses, grid compatibility issue, weaken electrification, slow EVs, e-cooking or industrial electrification, RE demand suppressed because of these things. So what are the barriers to renewable energy integration? One is structural. The discom, that distribution companies, debt and cross subsidies are there. One barrier. Lack of nationwide smart or flexible grid. And excuse me. Environmental, long coal PPA, emission lock-in, ideal RE, wasted infrastructure and delayed emission cuts. Economically high borrowing cost, like GST and duties and inflate RE tariff, and storage still unavailable without heavy subsidies. Global Peace Index 2025 ranked Iceland as the most peaceful country first. India is 115th among out of 163 countries. So we don't want peace, we want problems. Showing a modest improvement in the peace. Yeah, we are improving. That's another thing. Coverage 163 states, territories, 99.7% of the world population is covered in the survey, and published by the Institute of Economics and Peace, Sydney, Australia. So what is this method? GPA Index, Global Peace Index, assesses 33 indicators across 3 domains. The domains are societal safety and security, like crime, political stability, refugee impact, ongoing domestic and international conflict like terrorism, war, or civil unrest, and militarization, military expenditure, arms import, export, and military persons, number of persons. So the GPA trend in 2025, top countries are Iceland, Ireland, New Zealand, Finland. So many lands are there. Australia, Switzerland, again land, Singapore, Portugal, Denmark, Slovenia. If anyone want to live in a very peaceful manner, please note down these countries. These are very peaceful countries, top 10 countries. And bottom countries are Russia, Ukraine, yeah, Sudan, then Democratic Republic of Congo, Yemen. Yemen. Regional insight, like Europe dominates the top ranking, very peaceful as of now. Southern America, improvement. Argentina and Peru is improving. Sub-Saharan African Middle East country, least peaceful. Global trend, overall peaceful decline due to the conflict, militarization, and geopolitical divide. And about India, India is 115th ranking. Score is 2.229, improved 0.0558 percentage from last year. Okay, reason for this improvement is decline in the domestic violence and disputes and relative societal stability. And challenges are high militarization in India, which is needed, cross-border tension, especially like Pakistan and China between, internal unrest like that periodic riots, insurgencies. These are the challenges for India. Another important news from last week, GST Councils approved 2 slab structures. 56th meeting of GST Council approved 2 slab structures for GST, 5% and 18%, which means another special 40% is for sin goods and luxury goods, but normally 5% and 18%, that 12%, 20%, those got removed. About GST Council, the constitutional body under Article 279A, and we are 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. The chairperson will be Union Finance Minister, which is our Nirmala Sitharaman. Members, Union Minister of State for Finance and Revenue will be there. Union Minister of States. Finance and Taxation Ministers of States and UTs, Finance Ministers of States. Then Governor of Nominated Person, like LG, for where the President role is there. And the quorum will be 50% of the total members must be present. GST Council voting percentage, it's a consensus preference. If voting required, Union government has 1/3 of the weightage and the state and UTs have 2/3 of the weightage. Because Union government has an upper hand in voting. Decision passes within 75% or more weightage votes. And the functions recommend GST rate, exception, threshold limit. These things will be suggested by the GST Council. Address the inverted duty structure, suggest method for GST laws, amendments, and decide special rates in disasters, harmonize GST across the central and the states. So what is this about this new 2 slabs? Structure essential for essential goods will be having a GST of 5%. So earlier some goods were not put in essential; those were 12%. For example, toothpaste. Toothpaste was put in the 12% slab. Now these things are put in the essential goods. Okay, so it will be only having 5% GST. So that means like essential goods will be available for a cheaper rate. So the price will be reduced. And standard goods of services will be having 18%. Some item will be like costlier, which was earlier in 12%. Some will think will be 18%. Some will be lesser also, less costly also, because those things will be in 28% slab. Now it will be for a 18%. And sin good and luxury good will be 40%. Special rate will be there. So objective is simplification, reduce the multiple rates as a ease of compliances, consumer relief like lower tax on essential goods, then equity, higher burden on luxury or sin goods, and the revenue buoyancy, like prevent leakage, widen the base, like tax base will be widened. So when the 5% slab is there, many more items will be can be added in the GST, and the tax base or the number of people paying this GST will be increased. The tax base can be increased. A debate, should India raise the reservation beyond 50%? What are the historical background of this 50% reservation? Constitutional Assembly, Ambedkar said that the reservation as a temporary selective justice, not a permanent privilege. It can be collected later, but it couldn't. And some cases, important cases are Balaji versus State of Mysore, 1962. Reservation must be within the reasonable limit, 50% suggested. State of Kerala versus N.M. Thomas, 1975, emphasized the substantive equality. What do you mean by substantive equality? We'll discuss. Reservation not exceptional, but a tool for equality. This equitable distribution, reservation is something like an equitable distribution of sources or as like opportunities. Equity for attaining equality. That's the concept. Indra Savani, very famous. Indra Savani versus Union of India case from 1992, 27% of OBC quota upheld and 50% ceiling for firmly established, except extraordinary circumstances. 50% is sealed in the Indra Savani cases, and creamy layer principle introduced for OBCs. OBC has been divided into creamy layer and non-creamy layer according to their annual income and various assets and that parents' job and many things. OBC has been divided into creamy layer and non-creamy layer. This concept is introduced in Indra Savani cases. And Janmit Abhinyan versus Union of India case of 2022 appeared the 10% EWS, economically weaker session quota, breaching the 50% data. That is okay. Even if it is breaching the 50%, it is for economically weaker session. It is upheld, and the court clarified the ceiling applies only to the social and educational backward class. Reservation is not economical criteria. This EWS is for the upper class, so-called upper class. Constitutional provisions, Article 15.4, Article 15.4 and 55, state can make a special provision for socially and educationally backward classes in education and institutions. Article 16.4, exceptions, enable the reservation in public employment in backward classes. Article 16.4a and 16.4b allow the reservation in the promoting, carrying forward unified vacancies, like in promotions. Article 46 of DPSP direct the state to promote educational and economical interest of SC, STs and weaker sections. So what is this formal versus substantive equality? Formal equality means treat all citizens alike. Caps ensure fairness for general category. Substantive equality means recognize historical disadvantages of that community faced, uses reservation as a means to achieve a real equality, support exceeding 50% reservation. So that means like equitable distribution of this. So what are the argument for raising this? Demographic reality. Backward classes amount for 60% more than 60% of this population according to Mandal Commission. So 50% above 50% reservation is okay. Political demand is like state like Tamil Nadu and Bihar is demanding more reservation. Inequitable benefits are there. Alchemy Commission, 25% of OBC subcaste took 97% of the benefits. Many subcasts have none. No benefits. Substantive equality, like N.M. Thomas cases, reservation is a tool for equality, not exception. State practices, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra already legislated beyond 50%. Argument against 50% is judicial presidency in Indira Savani. There is a cap for 50%. Vacancy, 40 to 50% reservation vacancies remain unfilled. Creamy layer issue, like within extending creamy layer, layer to SC and ST, intra-caste inequality deepens. Inequality will be deepened, and risk to efficiency that higher quotas as meant comprises administrative capacity and competitiveness. Just reservation can be done, but the administrative efficiency cannot be assured. Alternative reforms like caste censuses, Rohini Commission subcategorization, backlog filing more impactful than expansions. So that's all about the important current events which happened last week, and yeah, fine. Okay, please go through the topics which I have covered and see you the next week.